Alright, this is a basic tutorial for how to play Hero Line Wars Starlight. This is the updated version. As you can see, what I just did was select my hero. That happens over here, but the heroes disappear once you do. So I selected it. Now I'm going to change my glyph. You only get 3 minutes at the beginning of the game to do this. There's a lot of information here. Which one you pick depends on your class and several other factors. So it's not as easy as saying this is the best glyph or that's the best glyph. You can see there's like some lifesteal options and other things. You kind of want to go through them, get an idea of them, and decide what's right for you. Now, I'm doing several things at once already, but don't worry, I'm going to explain them. So I'm playing a hero called Garrison. The way Garrison works is I spawn some minions, and these are the three I chose first. They're footmen. You can see they're out here in combat, already taking damage. Sorry, I'm trying to multitask, which is a thing. So, to pick your abilities, they're over here on the Learn button. For me, I'm using grid layout, so all I have to do is press G. If you're not using grid layout, it'll be whatever hotkey it shows. But go to Learn, select your abilities. Every time you level up, you get a new ability point, and so you can put it into any of your abilities. For Garrison, what I recommend is you start with Footman, and then Rifleman, and Priest. That's going to give you some damage with survivability, some more damage, and then some healers to keep everybody alive. I'm also, the way that I do this on my mercenary camp, which is button 5, or right here you can take a look at it, this is sending the units that the enemy team has to fight, and every time you do, it's also giving you more income, so we get that income modifier. Sorry, I'm going to have to take my army down to bottom because this guy has decided to co-op my lane. So, typically you have 4 heroes in Hero Line Wars Starlight. The way you play is 2 heroes go top, 2 heroes go bottom. So, I was already top with Sinjan, and Kala decided to join us. That is not a good way to play. We don't want to have 3 heroes on the same side. So I'm going to go ahead and move my units down here to the bottom to help out Startini. And that is the way that Garrison plays. So Garrison is actually this building right here, and it cannot move and it cannot be hurt. It just stays there and does pretty much nothing but spawn units and attack. And it has a very powerful attack, which can get even stronger. When you're playing Garrison, you're going to split your build into early game and late game. So, early game you build for ability power that makes your units stronger. Late game you build for attack power, which makes your garrison stronger. So, right now I'm building to just send out units. I haven't bought any items yet. When I do, they'll go right here. These are the item slots, and you get them from these stores back here. So every store has a certain purpose. The Arcanist is for ability power, Weaponsmith for weapons. Some of these have ability power or ability cooldown as well. The accessories are bought here. And then potions, which are super useful early game. If you're ever struggling with your health or your mana at the beginning of the game, this is where you want to go. They're incredibly cheap, considerably less expensive than other options. You may not be able to afford an item yet, but you can probably afford a couple of potions. And then you also have the Armor Smith down here that has kind of life boosting items. There's the Legacy Shop over here you can use. Most people don't. They have some cool stuff on them, but they don't level up, unlike other items in the game. So, right now, there's so much going on that it's already kind of overwhelming even just to explain it. What I will try and get to is the mercenary camp real quick. So the mercenary camp, every unit that is right-clicked, it has this, you know, the 2 little wisps running around on it, is automatically sending. So as soon as I have enough gold and there's one available, I will send that mercenary. Your available gold goes up here. You can take a look at it. 1 second. I'm going to have to take a look at this battle over here and make sure that they don't need my help. and it looks like they do kind of. So what I'm going to do on Garrison is just buy some energy tonics. Oops, accidentally set my waypoint to the wrong spot. I'll move it back. And then I'll just pop an energy tonic. That makes sure I have some mana available, which lets me use Call to Arms. I have it set to auto cast, so it's going to use it automatically if I have enough mana and the conditions for it are met. And because I don't have all of these right-clicked at one time, anytime I see that my gold is above, about 1,000, or just depending on where you're at in the game, it changes. I want to go to the mercenary camp and make sure I click the next one so that when I have the funds available, they'll send as well. Now, the reason I do it that way instead of just sending all of them automatically is that when you send them all automatically, it's going to run through and send one of each card, and then go through and do it again and again and again until you're out of money. The issue with that is that the more expensive the unit, the less income you get per gold you're spending. So to maximize your economy, you really want to only send through one unit at a time. So you have, you start out with just this unit, send all of him you can, go on to the next. When you've sent all of him, you go on to the next, and so on and so forth. And that's what I'm doing. I'm sending one at a time to make sure that I'm optimized here. Now I'm also kind of trying to balance out my usage of the heroes here. So I'm making sure that I've taken care of my stat points. If you're not focused on your character, the stat points show up as a little red icon right here. But right now our teammates are kind of getting their butt kicked. So I'm going to go ahead and go over to Shrine, which is button 6 right here. And I'm going to use this ability Monsoon. You can see I put it here. I'm getting a ton of gold off of this. It's a big AoE that does pretty significant damage at this point in the game. And it looks like I'm going to go ahead and need to item because our teammate is not doing very well. So I'm going to go ahead and buy my first item, which is what I just did. All I did was click here. It showed up on the ground, and I picked it up by going back to my hero and right-clicking it. I'm going to go ahead and get a second item now. And then I'm going to go ahead and upgrade to tier 2. Once you've maxed out all of your sins here, you upgrade to tier 2. And then you start again on that one. These are more expensive units, but that's going to let me spend all my gold rather than just hoarding it, which is not what I want to do. Now again, my mana gets low, so I use a potion. That lets me use Call to Arms, which is going to make me considerably stronger for a moment. And Garrison specifically, who's the only one who has that ability, it's going to give him a triple shot, and it also doubles his training speed. So I'm going to get my units out twice as fast, and my regular attack is going to go from hitting 1 unit to hitting 3 units, which is substantial, especially later in the game when you're stacking attack power. So you're always tabbing back and forth, checking on 5 to make sure that you've got the right sends. As you can see, I just had all my sends out, and I had no money left over. So it's kind of balancing, but that tells me that the next time I get income, I'm going to want to go ahead and have the Sea Giant active. So I'm going to go ahead and activate him now. And then you can see the income indicator pops up over here and tells you when it's there. Now, about the heroes. Every hero is different. They all have their own abilities. Most of them, instead of having units to summon like this, have regular abilities. So the Spirit Mage, for example, has 3 abilities. One of them is called Frost Nova. That's an AoE. One of them is called Clone Image, and that causes the enemy to become your ally, or excuse me, it clones them into being your ally. So it makes like a few copies of them who are your minions. That's actually one of the most powerful abilities in the game. You definitely want to use it if you're on him. I'm going to go ahead and get another item here because we're still not doing very well. So I'm going to go ahead and grab a Zircon ring, which is going to boost my damage and also going to give me better minions. Now I do that by turning my economy down a little bit so that I can have a little bit of money to spend on items, which is why you don't want to do it too soon. You want to be cautious about this because if you over item, sure, you'll clear the wave, no problem, but then your economy suffers. And every time you get a new income, you're sending out units. So that means it's cumulative. and you really, really don't want to have it low. A big difference can be made by waiting to buy items at the beginning until you kind of have to, and then only buying what you need. You don't want to overbuy. So, okay, I've updated my items. I've got 4 items now. My units are much stronger. Now, on Garrison specifically, when you have a unit wipe like I just did, you want to go ahead and pull your units back to a rally point so that they don't just keep feeding, and let them stack up first. Now, I see that the allied hero in my lane is coming back, so I'm going to go ahead and select army units, and then I'll send them all over here, and I'll make sure my rally point for my garrison is at the same spot, which auto sends my garrison units to that location. That way, if I lose like 1 or 2 during a battle, they just go back where they're supposed to. Not a big deal. If I lose the entire wave, you kind of have to micromanage a little bit, and that's whenever you want to be sure that you're sending out, you're rallying the units and then sending them as a wave, because if you just send them one at a time, they will not do very well against the enemy. Alright, so I can see that we're getting attacked down here again. That's not good at all. I already have used pretty much everything I can. I'm going to go ahead and buy some cooldown reduction potions. So I'll pop some potions of swiftness. That'll let me attack faster. And my teammate is asking me to send my garrison up top, like all my garrison units. That does put 3 of us on the top lane, which is not at all ideal, but it is what we're going to have to do here because we have a brand new teammate. Kolomoko and Sanjin both have not played before. And now I'm going to try and talk these guys through how to play their classes because it looks like they're brand new at this. So I'm going to go ahead. What I'm going to do is buy some mana potions. And this is something that I like doing as Garrison. I'm going to drop those onto Sinjin. The Phasesmith, his mana is fine, so I'm not worried about it. But Sinjin needs them. For anyone who doesn't know, this entire thing down here is called the command card. That's where all of your commands come from in the game overall. It's not specific to Hero Line War Starlight. It's just a StarCraft II thing. So that is the actual name of it. Just in case. It's not like super common terminology, but it is the name that I remember having read a long time ago in the strategy guide when StarCraft II first came out, which was like a very long time ago. Okay, so I'm keeping up with my economy pretty well. You can see this is actually the economy scoreboard up here. It shows who is in the lead and who's not. I'm going to buy some health potions for... Oh, I did not get them in time. Oh well. So this is probably the least ideal game to do a tutorial during because we are getting our butts kicked early game, which is not at all ideal. It's usually not this hard, but we do have 2 brand new people, so half of us are brand new, and it looks like one of them just quit. Which is also not ideal. You don't really want to lose people from your team But it is a thing. It happens. You just kind of deal with it. So I'm going to try to give some healing potions to this ally here in the hopes it'll keep him up. But it is frustrating when you have people who are brand new and don't want to listen, because this game is a little bit complicated and it does move pretty dang fast. However, it's one of the best games out there. It just, you got to kind of know what you're doing ahead of time. There is a 1v1, or excuse me, a single player mode you can enter on your own by just starting a lobby with only yourself in it, and that will let you play around some. You can send enemies at yourself, so you can also turn it off if you want to. You don't have to worry about being overwhelmed too early or anything like that. It's pretty good for learning the game. Now you can see my income had built up, or my gold had built up, so I have to go back to Mercenary Camp and send the next unit. You really want to stay on top of that. It is a big deal to keep your economy as high as you possibly can. The more economy you have, the more enemies you send. The more enemies you send, the more economy you get. So it is imperative that you pay attention to it and you stay on top of it. And that's where buying just the least number of items you can to handle your wave well comes into play. Because if you start buying a bunch of items early, like I said, you will own a wave no problem, but you won't have anything left over for economy. And then it takes a long time to recover from that. And you do get a bounty from killing the enemy units, but if you take all that bounty for yourself and keep it from your teammate while not doing maximum economy, you're kind of hurting your team overall. So you really want to make sure you're getting that economy, that income as high as you can. Now at this point, we're starting to get pushed back and it's not going great. So I'm going to left click to upgrade 2 of my items. And then I'm going to save for tier 3 here on my mercenary camp. So you can see all of these are sending. All of them are down to 0 count. And now I have 200,000 gold. So I'll go ahead and upgrade to tier 3, send all of this, and then right click the next portrait. And if I sent all of these and still had gold, I would do the same thing, right click the next portrait. So as Garrison, I probably should be kind of microing my units a little bit more. It's something I don't normally do because it's not normally necessary. With the level of damage that a team is having and everything, it just usually works really well not to even worry about it. But when you have a rough game like this, it can definitely help if you kind of get your APMs up and get in there and start really making moves constantly. Making sure that your footmen, or your knights, if they get low on health, they pull back, let the priest heal. You can also decide, like, for example, when a unit spawns from the garrison, it has full health and full mana. So sometimes you kind of want to look at a priest and be like, he's too low mana. You can just have him run up front all by himself. Just tell him to get over here. And of course, the units are going to attack him on the way. You can see his health is going down very rapidly. And he didn't make it. Well, that was the point. Now he's going to respawn. In fact, he already has. And he has full mana again. So he'll be able to heal the rest of the units, which is very helpful. So I'm going to do the same thing for any other priests that are at 0 mana. Which is a lot of them. So, going back to Mercenary Camp, making sure we're sending over here. Keeping up their economy. And if we look at the scoreboard right now, so what I usually look at is who's on top and then how many kills do they have. Because the more kills you have, the higher you should be on the economy board, right? For some reason, 2 of my riflemen were just hanging out there. So I'm going to go ahead and set their rally point over here and have them continue. And I'll go ahead and do the same thing for my whole army. So I'll just press select army units and send the whole army to make sure they're going. Now I kind of default to looking at my mercenary screen because I know that's where I'm going to have to press a button next. So I just sent all of these and I saw I had gold left over. So I went ahead and unlocked the next, or started using the next one. Now if you look, what I'm doing right now is I'm maxing out my riflemen my footmen, my priest, and I'm putting whatever points I can into knight. That's a really strong build for garrison overall. And just real quick, I'm going to go ahead and upgrade this item, just left clicking. So that's going to make my units a little bit stronger. We could have looked at their health points before and after, but they should have gone up by about 4,000, which is pretty significant considering they don't have that many hit points to begin with. Now, this is a great time to be using your shrine. Again, that's button 6. Blizzard is just like Monsoon. It's an AoE that hits over time, but it's going to do significantly more than Monsoon. However, it also costs more to use. So that's kind of the trade-off. Chain Lightning, I'll show it to you real quick. It costs even more, but as you can see, it hits 12 units for 100,000 damage. So does a huge amount of damage, and you get credit, you get the experience, you get the gold earned, all of that. So using your shrine is a great way to modify any of your heroes, keep them all up. Just make sure that you don't overuse it. You know, if you don't have to use it, you don't want to waste it, because it does take energy, and that energy is very slow to recover. And you want to have it available if you need it. It's kind of in case of emergency, and it's kind of to boost your overall game. So you just kind of find that balance and use it however you feel is best for your specific game. So my army's getting their butts kicked again. I'm going to pull back a little bit. And again, I'm going to go ahead and use, upgrade my, sorry, I'm trying to multitask here again. So I'm sending my next send. I'm pulling my army back because they got a little bit out there. And then if they fall back into garrison range, I'm going to start doing significantly more damage. I can definitely help out a lot more when I get to attack as a building. But I still am in the unit phase of this game, so I really want to be boosting my units. What I'm going to do instead of sending Sasquatches is I'm going to go ahead and boost my units up. So I'm going to do that by upgrading this, well, I clicked the wrong one. I'm upgrading the Staff of Dominance into Apostle of Argus. That is a huge, huge boost. Not only is it way more ability power, but it also grants minions grant of random enchant. You can see it there towards the bottom of the card right here. And then what we get, if I click on one of my units, is something like this. Lightning Enchant. Weapon and ability cooldown speed increased by 50%. Or over here, grants 35% damage and causes weapon attacks to ignite. Or this one. Restores 5.6% life per second and causes attacks to inflict slowing poison. All of these are massive upgrades, and they all come from having an Apostle of Argus. It works on a lot of minion builds in this game. But the trick with it is it costs a lot of money to get. So you just want to make sure, again, you're balancing your economy. Don't do it too early, but do make sure you do it. So I've been using energy tonics the whole time. They're super cheap, like I said. If we go back and take a look, 120 gold for each one, or for every 3, so that's about 40 gold a piece. And if we look, I have 1.3 million gold. I'm going to go ahead and upgrade to tier 3 or tier 4 now. But you can see, compared to 70,000 or 90,000 to send a unit or to make an upgrade, it's just significantly more economical. And so you really, really want to use that anytime you can, as opposed to having to upgrade your items and stuff like that. Now we're getting our butts kicked a little bit, so I'm going to go ahead and use Chain Lightning. Helped some, took out a couple of them. We got a good stack right there, so I can pop that ability, which was... sorry, I'm trying to not get my butt kicked while I do this. I'm going to go ahead and buy a Feathered Dart. That's one of the items that gives a lot of benefits. So 50% weapon speed, 20% weapon range, 200% weapon damage, or 200 weapon damage, not percent, just 200 flat weapon damage. that makes my garrison significantly stronger. They are in what I'd call garrison range at this point, so we're getting units leaked all the way down here. So I need to be careful about my upgrades and make sure that I am doing my best to take care of the team here. I'm going to go ahead and I drop my energy potions so I can pick up some cooldown reduction potions. They're called swiftness potions. And what those do is boost my attack speed and my ability cooldown speed for 43 seconds. Now, if you just notice, what I did was ping the garrison. Ping in this game means defend or help. So what I'm saying is, no, I'm not about to lose the garrison because I don't get hurt, but we're at a point where these units are stacking up way too fast, and we need help to make sure that they don't start leaking. So I'm going to upgrade items, and our Ascendant, or our teammate, has come to help us because we've called for it. So we're going to see a little bit of help here and hopefully get through this pretty damn fast. Now, at 26 minutes into the game, you usually turn off all economy, which means you just stop sending all units and you start banking all of your money. And you do this in order to make one huge send at about 29 minutes into the game. Game timer's right here. That will let you overwhelm the enemy, which is the goal. To overwhelm them, and if an enemy unit reaches this pad right here, that counts as a life. Your lives are shown in green, their lives are shown in red. So I need to stop talking as much and get some stuff done over here because we are getting our butts kicked still. So I'm going to change out my loadout now. I'm going to put on 1 Alexandrite coil, 1 Kong. Actually, I'll probably go for 2 Kongs in this game. So I'll drop an Apostle of Argus, I'll grab another Kong, and then that's most of my loadout. What I'm going to do for my 6th slot is I'm going to get a Warmonger, which is a lesser version of the Kong. If you look at any of the items, they all go in tiers. So you have the Tier 1 version, Tier 2 version, Tier 3 version. They have similar upgraded stats, but they have different abilities on them, specials. Like this one is Eye for an Eye, grants a 25% chance to counterattack for full weapon damage when attacked. This one is ability to throw an axe, dealing 100% weapon damage or in a radius 2 area. So they're all kind of distinct in there. They're all a little bit different. But the reason I change all my items over is to get to a DPS build. That's going to help us the most with what we're dealing with now. So just upgraded to Tier 5 over here, which is the strongest mercenaries in the game. It is very, very effective. Sorry, I'm looking at all of this and realizing I made a mistake. I went Tier 5 in this game when I probably should have stayed on Tier 4 mercenary camp. But that's just the thing that happens sometimes, especially when I'm talking instead of just playing. So this is the build-up phase. Everyone is getting ready to send. So what I'm going to do is go ahead and take this time to restore all my energy to max, so I'm ready for combat. You can see the energy tonics take about 3 seconds to take effect. And then, okay, red indicator, they have just sent, enemy is on the way. So what I'll do is drop my Warmonger, pick up my swiftness potions, go ahead and use one of them. Those last for 43 seconds. So I'll go ahead and get back to having the Warmonger in my inventory. And the reason I'm using a Tier 2 weapon over a Tier 3 is that the Warmonger gives us Bloodlust for 7 seconds. Bloodlust doubles your attack speed. So this is actually stronger than having the additional attack damage I would get from a different loadout. And we're getting our butts kicked right now. So this is their big send. I forgot to send, which is great. I'm an idiot. We have, ooh, I might be able, no, we could not quite hold it off. So that was the game. I missed my send at 29:20, which is what I should have done. I should have just turned my portraits on and sent everything, but I was too busy focusing on other stuff. And that is the way this game plays. It is very fast-paced, it is very unforgiving, and it's quite a lot of fun. I hope you'll enjoy it if you get a chance to play. And if you have more questions or comments, feel free to reach out. Thanks.